The Nintendo Switch has been home to some of the most celebrated games of the last decade. Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Smash Ultimate, titles that have become almost synonymous with the console itself. But, for every game that's cemented itself into the Switch's legacy, there are others that have quietly slipped through the cracks. Not because they're unknown, but because they rarely enter the conversation. This is a list of 10 of those games, not ranked, not scored, just 10 titles that don't get discussed nearly as often as they deserve to be. Some of these will be familiar, others might surprise you that they're even available on the console in the first place. So, either way, this is a case for why each one of them is worth your time. Famicom Detective Club spent decades as a Japan-only footnote in Nintendo's back catalogue. Its return, first as 2 remakes, then as an entirely new entry in EMEO, marks one of the more unlikely revivals of the Switch era. Together, the three form a cohesive mystery trilogy that deserves to be treated as a single body of work. What sets the series apart is how deliberately it builds its mystery. Every new lead invites a theory, and the writing is precise enough to make those theories feel earned rather than guessed at. Without spoiling anything, one moment in particular stands out, identifying the missing heir correctly early on, only to be talked out of that theory by the story's misdirection, before the game circled back to confirm it. That's the moment this series won me over completely. Not the mystery itself, but how confidently it plays with your own certainty. Mystery games are quite scarce on Switch, which makes this series more valuable, not less, and it's a must play for any Switch owner and a strong argument for the series to continue further onto the Switch too. Miitopia's arrival on Switch, complete with an overhauled visual style, was not something most fans were expecting. As a 3DS original, it existed for a smaller audience, and that history is likely why it remains overlooked despite the far larger platform it now sits on. The premise of casting friends, family, or public figures as heroes in an RPG built around them sounds like a novelty. In practice, it's a genuinely well-constructed, light-hearted RPG, driven by personality rather than mechanical depth. It's not going to satisfy anyone looking for a deeply strategic RPG, but that's almost beside the point. Miitopia is at its best when you're laughing at the fact that you've somehow made a family member the party's most powerful wizard. It's an easy recommendation, particularly for anyone looking for something charming rather than demanding. Yoshi's Crafted World had the misfortune of following Metroid Prime 4's surprise announcement at the same E3 presentation. Most of the audience were still reacting to that reveal, and the Yoshi trailer went largely unnoticed until its final moments, an unfortunate case of timing overshadowing quality. The game itself is a well-crafted, no pun intended, platformer built around distinctive visual identity. Every level looks handmade, constructed from cardboard and household materials, giving it a tactile charm that's rare in the genre. There isn't a single standout level in my opinion that defines the experience, and it's unlikely to change anyone's perception of what a platformer can be, but it might be one of the most consistently pleasant games Nintendo has ever made. It's the kind of game best suited to sit between larger releases and a shorter, more relaxed platforming experience that rewards players who appreciate craft over spectacle. When Hyrule Warriors was first announced for the Wii U, the pairing of Zelda with the Warriors format was unexpected enough to generate real discussion. By the time the Definitive Edition arrived on Switch, following both the Wii U original and the 3DS port, novelty had worn off a bit, and the game was largely overlooked as a result. Which is a shame, because this is arguably the strongest Warriors game Nintendo has ever produced. The narrative is simple, but it functions well as a framework for pulling together some of Zelda's most recognisable characters and settings. Levels drawn from Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword give the game a consistently shifting identity, and the steady introduction of new characters keeps the roster feeling substantial rather than padded. That's what makes it so easy to recommend. There's an absurd amount of Zelda content here, and even after the dozens of hours, it still feels like there's something else to unlock. The initial leaks suggesting a crossover between Mario and the Rabbids were met with a widespread skepticism, and reasonably so. It was a pairing that made little sense on paper. However, the final product proved that skepticism wrong almost immediately, delivering a tactics game with genuine polish. Releasing in the Switch's first year, however, meant it was competing for attention against a wave of higher profile launches, and it's largely faded from the conversation since. Despite not being the deepest tactics RPG available, the game succeeds through strong core design and unexpectedly effective humour. The Rabbids chaos fits the Mario cast better than it has any right to. It holds up well against its own sequel too, and honestly, better in terms of core gameplay in my opinion, with one noticeable absence. Yoshi is nowhere to be found in Sparks of Hope, and that decision is worth holding a grudge over because, let's be honest, Yoshi's the best. So the fact he wasn't in Sparks of Hope was a bit disappointing to me. LEGO City Undercover is often described as LEGO GTA, a comparison that's useful for explaining the premise, but almost does the game a disservice because it's at its best when it stops trying to be an open world crime game and remembers it's a LEGO game underneath. Originally a Wii U title, its Switch release arrived during a particularly crowded launch window, sitting alongside Breath of the Wild and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which goes a long way toward explaining why it slipped under the radar for many people. That timing doesn't reflect the quality of the game itself, a well-designed, character-driven open-world title worth revisiting for anyone who missed out on it the first time, and the game itself is always offering the player unique opportunities to explore the world and provides the player with a multitude of different abilities with the different jobs the main character Chase McCain picks up throughout the journey. Sometimes you're a firefighter, you might be a spaceman or a cowboy. You know, these things, they all differ and it really helps add to the game's experience and keeps things feeling fresh. For years, Super Mario RPG was a game which was discussed heavily by fans. It's widely regarded as one of the best RPGs in the whole Mario series, and there was a lot of discussion. Would this game ever come back? Could we see a remaster? Maybe it's even a port to Nintendo Switch Online? And Nintendo answered those calls, as a full remake from the ground up was announced for the Nintendo Switch. And when I seen this game get revealed, my expectations were high, as based on all the online chatter, this seemed like a game which was a must play. And honestly, after playing it, I agree. It's an incredible experience. The gameplay is so fun. The combat is really addicting to play. You always feel as though you're having fun during the missions as well. And as well, the visual style is absolutely stunning in my opinion. The lighting is beautiful, and the little character models I think really give this game a unique charm, which maybe helps it stand apart from some of the other Mario RPGs. After the reveal of Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, reactions to the remaster were mixed from the outset. Some viewed it as a welcome chance to finally experience the game on modern hardware, while others considered it a lesser effort, particularly compared to Luigi's Mansion 3. Now, both positions honestly have merit. Structurally, the game differs from its predecessor and successor, built around discrete missions rather than one continuous explorable space, a design choice originally suited to the portable play on 3DS. That structure translates reasonably well to the Switch, offering a game suited to shorter sessions rather than extended play. It's not going to convert anyone who bounced off it before, but there's a genuinely solid game underneath, and the comparisons to its flashier sequel best treated as a companion title to something larger in scope. If you're unfamiliar with the format of Telltale's games, they're choice-driven narrative with real consequences, and let's be honest, this isn't for every player, but it's a structure that rewards engagement when it works, and the Batman Telltale series on Switch, honestly, it stands out as one of the stronger examples of that format, built around decisions that meaningfully shape the story, rather than offering the illusion of choice. And as an introduction to Telltale's style, it's an effective one, compelling enough that its sequel, which carries choices over from the first game, becomes an immediate follow-up, rather than an optional extra. Now, what sticks with me isn't any single decision, it's realising how much weight the smaller ones carry too. For players who value consequence-driven storytelling, this remains one of the more overlooked entries in the genre on the Switch. Now, anyone who's watching this video, I'm assuming is a massive Nintendo fan, and therefore is probably a big fan of Mario Kart. So, by default, they'll most likely enjoy Crash Team Racing Nitro-Fueled, which is the closest any kart racer has come to standing alongside Mario Kart in terms of quality in my opinion. Built on the foundations of the original PlayStation game, with content drawn from across the series' history, Nitro-Fueled delivers tight, technical kart racing, with a genuine depth to its drift mechanics. Its adventure mode adds a substantial single player option, something Mario Kart itself has yet to fully embrace, and honestly, it should. The narrative framing is minimal, but the core racing more than compensates, making this one of the strongest kart races available on the platform, Mario Kart included. So, that's the list. 10 Switch games that for various reasons, timing, competition, platform history, never received the attention that they deserved. And there's a strong case that this could have been extended to 20 games. The Switch's library is deep enough to support it. Let this be a starting point rather than a final word. Which of these would make your own list, and what's missing from my list? If this list gave you something worth adding to your backlog, a like honestly really helps the channel, and subscribing means you won't miss the next one. So, take care and happy gaming!